Vanishing Point, a novel by Keith A. Kenel. 15 of 101. Part 15. Stacy Shannon had dealt with volatile parents in the past, but the level of Marty Conan's anger in response to the minor inconvenience of being made to wait 10 minutes at dismissal time was not something she'd even considered, and she'd mentally worked her way through the necessary steps in following up on Skylar's certainty that her dead father had visited the Interlochen playground. At school conferences, when the focus of conversation been on Sarah's school progress, Stacy had conversed almost exclusively with Mark Conan. When Stacy was praising Sarah, Marty had remained largely unresponsive, so much so that the woman had checked her phone multiple times during that phase of the meeting. When the conversation had shifted from the myriad things Sarah did well to the few areas of concern Stacy had for the little girl, Marty Conan had eclipsed her husband and become the couple's driving force. The meeting's dynamic had been so odd and unpleasant that at the end of conferences, Stacy had mentioned to Louise Henniger how Marty became far more attentive when talk turned to the child's weaknesses, and had wondered to her fellow teacher about the toxicity of Marty and Sarah's interactions. The interactions that Stacy had with Marty left her feeling that Sarah's mother had what Stacy labeled a sugar icing personality, one that was sickeningly sweet on the outside, but that covered over a most unpalatable interior. An exterior that, as today indicated, was easily washed away at the first sign of inconvenience to Mrs. Marty Conan. Stacy consciously squelched her desire to lambaste Marty and tell her exactly what she thought of her saccharine exterior with its just beneath the surface poison, and instead chose to remain plaintive and placating. "Oh, Mrs. Conan, I'm so sorry. It's just that Skylar was deeply troubled, and I promised her that I'd follow up on what she thinks happened, and I felt it best to let you know. I'll call her mother and fill her in. Again, so sorry to have inconvenienced you." Stacy diverted her gaze from Mrs. Conan and addressed the girls. "I'll see you on Monday, girls. Have a great weekend together," she said before turning on her heel and departing the scene before anyone could respond. "Weekend?" Marty demanded of Sarah. "Who said anything about a weekend? I said overnight. Skylar, your mother knows that we're dropping you off tomorrow, right?" Skylar had stood frozen, head down and eyes tilted up from the beginning of Marty's tirade, hiding behind her friend in an unconscious attempt to be invisible to Sarah's marauding mother. In response to Marty's sharp-voiced inquiry, the girl looked up the bare minimum required to make eye contact and respond with 4 minute nods of her head. "Are you certain?" Marty demanded. "Yes," Skylar said in a trembling voice so soft that even Sarah could barely hear. "Was that a yes?" Marty asked harshly. "You need to speak up, girl. I can't hear a word that you're saying." "Yes, Marty," Sarah interjected. "She said yes, or I think you're scaring her." "What? Don't be ridiculous. Why would I be scaring her?" Marty inquired, voice flinty hard. "Listen, if you're scared, Skylar, I can drive you home now if you'd like. Is that what you girls would prefer?" "No, Marty," Sarah wailed immediately as Skylar shook her head back and forth, eyes downcast. Marty sighed, shook her head and said, "Wow, this is shaping up to be a stellar sleepover so far. Okay, put your helmet in your backpack and let's go," she added, staring at the girls. Sarah did as instructed and then looked back at her stepmother, head turned to the side and tilted, unsure what to do next. "Well," Marty asked, "are you going to get your bike or shall we leave it here?" "Oh, right, okay," Sarah responded, nodding her head vigorously. "The bike, okay," she added as she twirled the bike lock's tumblers to 0319 and freed it from the rack. "Okay, ready?" "Marvelous," Marty responded, the corner of her mouth downturned, shaking her head in dismay. "This is going to be the best sleepover ever," she said sarcastically. Skylar looked at Sarah, who said, "Come on, Skylar, it'll be okay. We're parked over at the church. Come on," she added, following Marty's wake. "We'll load the bike in the SUV and then drive home."